This is season 4, and I am on a mission to help creatives become the most loved versions of themselves. I want to help you step into health in every single area of your life and pursue the authentic creative expression that you feel called to and that only you can. The world feels crazy right now, and we need healthy creatives more than ever. So let's get into it. I'm Courtney Lancaster, and this is the Heal Create Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Heal Create Podcast. I am Courtney, and I am so excited to introduce you to my Australian twin, Ella Hooper. Welcome.
Oh,
hello.
I'm so excited to be here. When I had you on my podcast, I was like, how have I not met you in person?
I know. It's really funny. Our paths have crossed. We were both at Bethel in Reading, and we both are, I think that we kind of look alike. I feel like we have a lot of the same passions. I feel like our eye shape is the same. We're like blonde. But you are, so I maybe would call myself the American Ella Hooper.
And I'm the Aussie Courtney Lancaster.
So it's so wonderful to have you on. I want to say Ella Hooper is, you just recently moved back home to Australia, but you were in California for 10 years. You were pursuing your own personal, emotional, and spiritual wholeness, and you ended up developing a foundational curriculum for the Performing Arts School that was a part of Bethel for a while. You were training actors, dancers, screenwriters, and filmmakers to engage in their creativity while staying connected to their authentic selves. And now you are coaching, and you have your own podcast, which, like we said, I got to be a guest on. And it's just a delight to have you here. I think one of my first questions was, how did you get into coaching creatives? It's so wonderful to meet somebody who does the same thing that I do. And I'm so curious how you landed there.
Well, I think some things just choose you. And I didn't pursue coaching, it pursued me. And so I think that you are the best at helping people with whatever you're passionate about and whatever you're trying to figure out. And actually I was in second year of the ministry school, and I remember Chris Valentin saying, make money off something you naturally do. And I think as a creative, especially, I trained to be an actress. So I went to conservatory here in Australia straight out of high school. Wow. I was the kid that would cry with passion of like, I just want to be an actress. Aww. And I was just came alive with story. And of course, like all our artist listeners listening, we have to figure out how to make money while doing the thing that we love.
Yeah.
And I have that context of training to be an actress, being in a really competitive conservatory. Yeah. And then when I went to America, I was a pioneer and helped start our arts university there. So I just naturally was learning so much about emotional health and wholeness. And then in the first, I think, 2 months of opening up the conservatory, I kind of pitched to our leadership, like, I think we need an emotional health class because we're got these little Christians figuring out, do we kiss or not kiss? Or trying to figure out, like, we're playing all these, like, if you've come from like a really sheltered Christian home and then all of a sudden you get religious to like background. Play whatever character. And it just brought a lot of beautiful messiness. And I think I was really passionate on like being aware of what's happening inside you so you can work through those awful shame hangovers you're having when you perform, or those kind of dynamics that happen in rehearsal. And So I naturally, and so the school was really swirly, especially in that first, well, a lot of just being around creatives can be really swirly emotionally.
Yeah, right.
And
Being
so,
one can also be really swirly.
yeah. And I remember the school was actually in the first couple of months. I remember the students all got together and were like, we are boycotting the school. Like, and so it was kind of this crazy, like, this is crazy. We're leaving. And so my bosses called me into their office and they're like, you know, that emotional health class you want to teach? You can go do that.
Oh my
um,
gosh.
and so didn't have like a teaching background or any super
Yeah.
academic background, but just from my own intuition, kind of built a curriculum called the Wholehearted Artist.
Yeah.
And then from that, just started attracting a lot of people either at a really high professional level in the industry, or people just trying to discover what creativity is for them on, like, you know, and feeling like not creative and learning discovering what their unique creativity is. So that's how it started.
Yeah. Gotcha. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And you're right. Like the things that we're here to do that light us up, they kind of are pursuing us. They're like, as our
Yeah.
story unfolds, I always feel like somebody must have said this because I don't feel like it came from me, but the idea that like we are the most qualified to help who we were 5 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Like ourselves, and then to find that there are so many people that are in the same place that we were in. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that was kind of how you found yourself in those positions.
Yeah. And I think, like, I remember finishing the first year of ministry school and coming back to, and I know we're talking about vision today, but I had done 1 year of ministry school and my objective was to feel whole. Like, I just wanted
Mhm.
to believe that God was real and that I could be whole. And so I didn't have too much of a focus or vision outside of that. But I did come back and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing next other than to keep doing the school. And I don't really have
Yeah.
a vision for where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. And one of my friends said to me, Ella, you can't tell people what you're going to be doing because the role hasn't been created yet. And that was
Mm.
really true to me, of like, there was this kind of whisper of like, I don't fully know what it is. And then someone else actually said to me, you're going to be paid to be Ella Hooper. And
Yeah.
I just hung over onto those two thoughts, that the role that I want is not created yet, and I will be paid to be Ella Hooper. So who is Ella Hooper? and then
Yeah.
um and then what's crazy is I got really handpicked to get a visa and start building this school, and really got to discover who all my uniqueness got to come
Mhm.
out in the building of that school
Yeah.
and that experience, which was really cool.
Wow. Well, when I was looking at your website, I was noticing that you, when you're working with clients, start in the same place that I do. And it's in the same place that I am focusing on this month as I am doing this challenge towards becoming your most loved self, which is starting with vision. And I know for me, and I've mentioned on this podcast before that like I was so kind of trapped and circling around my pain, trying to figure out. I also had the goal of wholeness, but did you read Krista Black Gifford's book, Heart Made Whole?
I feel like many books around that time that came out, I probably read a few chapters, but I listened a lot to her podcast.
Oh, yes. Okay, right.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember that was the first like idea I had ever had about wholeness and about emotional health and this was like years ago, years and years ago. And so that led me obviously to that place as well, to the same city that you found yourself in. And But I got really stuck because when you're just focusing on what needs to, at the time, I maybe wouldn't have said this, but what needs to be fixed about yourself, you're sort of circling around the same thing. I wasn't giving myself somewhere new to go or somewhere to, move towards, somewhere new for my nervous system to go. And so I started writing down, like, what are 10 things I want to say are true 10 years from now. I remember my trauma therapist at the time asked me, like, what's a day in the life of your, I can't remember how she said it, like the future life that you would want to create. And I think because I was raised in a religious home, it literally had never occurred to me that you could, like,
Yeah.
say what you wanted. You could, like, design your own life. I think it
Did
felt,
you feel
and
selfish, like that was selfish? Like to
I think like a lot of religious kids, I grew up with the belief that I was sneaky.
Yeah.
And designing my own life felt like I was going behind God's back and, like, taking what I
Yes.
wanted.
Well said.
And
Yeah.
so I think that, and there's so much, because I started talking about God more on Instagram, there's so much in my algorithm that comes from, like, Christian content. And I'm like, the amount,
Yeah.
the belief underneath so much of the content that comes out from Christian people is this message, like, don't be trying to get away with something. Stop trying to get away with this. Like, it's the belief that we are fundamentally, like, sneaky people trying to get
And we need
behind
to
God's
be
back.
corrected. Yeah.
Yes. And, like, somebody just has to call it out finally. Somebody has to tell us. And
Yeah.
so I think, like, that was my belief. Absolutely, that was my belief. So I literally felt like fight or flight energy, even thinking about, like, the kind of life that I would
Yes.
want to create.
Yeah.
But it was the exact thing that that I needed. And I'm wondering for you, why do you start with people? When you're working with people, why do you start with having them clarify their own vision? What are your reasonings for that?
Well, I think I've heard it said, vision gives pain a purpose. So, and I think that's why we have to have like a focus and a marker of like where we're going. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like we're in our subconscious throwing images and movies in our internal world up constantly that are leading us to self destruction. And so, if
Mm.
I can throw a vision up on my movie screen, my internal movie screen, then I can actually connect to like where I'm going. And
Yeah.
I feel it's funny because vision is in different seasons in my life, but also for most people that come to me, they actually find that quite triggering to create a vision because most people are coming to me at like where their life's broken down, or they're coming to me
Mm.
with like, I used to be a dreamer and I used to have vision and it didn't work out.
Oh, so, like,
So
broken self-trust.
yes, broken
Yeah.
self-trust um and or people just who maybe in their childhoods that wasn't cultivated that you could have a
Totally.
vision. And so
Yeah.
I like to start there. And usually I'm not asking that question, like, what's your vision? The
Yeah.
question I'm usually asking is like, tell me a moment where you felt most like Courtney.
Yeah.
And like my first ever life coach said to me, tell me all the memories where you felt most alive. And I
Mm.
wrote down different times where I was performing, acting, different times when I had a, career in real estate as well, like where I was doing things in business and strategy. And we had listed out all these memories where I felt most alive. And I remember she said to me, that's where the glory of God is. And to your point about kind of that
Mm.
religious idea that you're selfish or you're doing your will and not God's will when it
Yeah.
comes to your vision, that kind of broke off that religious idea because when you are fully alive, you are actually I love in the Passion Translation, in the Bible, it talks about like being an advertisement to who he is, like when you're alive, like, and I think I have this probably similar algorithm to you, because a lot of the clips are around death and suffering. And I'm like, this is like not good for my clients who've been in survival mode their whole
Oh my
life.
gosh, I
And I
know.
understand a good ego death. Like I get that.
Right,
But
totally. Yeah.
yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. But I'm also like, actually, where you feel life is a clue.
Yeah.
And so that
Ugh,
is what we start, like, those are the questions that start to kind of like awaken the vision that I'm trying to get
yeah.
from a client, if that makes sense.
Yes. It does make sense. Gosh, I have so many thoughts. I totally agree with you about, the ego death thing, the sort of like you probably see a lot of stuff around laying down your dreams and your visions. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I have had clients who I have said, "Hey, listen, you have a surrender addiction. You are literally addicted to surrendering your dreams in the name of like, I'm just going to let God direct my life. It's not about me anymore." I'm like, no, the truth is, you know what you're here to do and you feel afraid to do it. So let's talk about that. I'm like, I can't even imagine if I had a kid that was like, Mom, I want to be this
Right.
famous chef, but like, I'm just going to lay that down. Whatever you want me to do. I would be like heartbroken. I'm like, bro, let's go. What do you need? Like, let's go for it. Let's get you cooking classes. Let's get you YouTube.
Yeah.
I do not believe that is the heart of God for his kids. Um,
And
and I
even to
think,
the point of design, like, God made us so unique, and I've heard it said, the more you know who you are in Christ, the more unique you become. And I love the
yeah,
scripture that's like, the whole world is waiting for you to know who you are. And
yeah,
so if I had a child and I could see their unique design and they didn't fully live into the fullness of who they are, I would feel sad. Like, oh my
totally.
gosh,
So
I
sad.
created you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, and even, the idea that I had somebody reach out to me today and they were, today's suicide prevention day in America.
Mm.
And they were just talking about like we were kind of going over all of the healing that they went through, and they're like, "Courtney, how do I help people? How do I serve people?" And I'm like, "You go and be yourself. Go and be your true authentic self." And I'm sure you can attest to this, like thinking that I really need to serve now is kind of a misunderstanding of what I think God made us to do. He made us to be ourselves, knowing that our authentic expression is the service that the world needs. It is the healing that the world needs. It's for us to be in our authentic expression. What would you add, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think I so understand. There's such a and there's really a beautiful thing to being faithful and serving. Like, that's a beautiful thing. But when your soul is dying and everything is out of duty,
Yeah.
you're actually not inspiring. Like, I had to look around at a church I was a part of before I moved to America, and I was like, no one's alive. And this isn't like like serving,
Right.
like, we're all Christian soldiers serving this
Yeah.
church vision. And while I believe we should be a part of, I mean, not, you don't have to should anything, but like being a part of community actually serves you. Like, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. But I also think that there's a season of like, yeah, like learning how to like, it's like in family dynamics, you want to serve the family, like, do the
Yeah.
dishes,
Sure.
do your
That's yeah,
part.
right. Yeah,
But at the
totally.
same time, like, when you're constantly in that codependent martyr mentality, like sacrificial, like
Yeah.
it's just like not inspiring to people around you, like, because
Totally.
it's usually yeah, like our inner child wiring of codependence, or I only was valuable when I helped someone. Like, there's so much
Yeah.
more to like that, if that makes sense. But
Oh, totally.
yeah.
Well, and it gives your nervous system a great excuse to not pursue what you're here to do.
Yes.
Well, I'm here to serve. I just want to serve. It sounds so good.
Yeah.
And reasonable.
Well, I even have had experiences because part of, and I'm sure maybe you've read The Artist's Way. Have you read The Artist's Way?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So part of like building the university that we were doing, it was a lot of like sacrificial service, but it was a passion and I believed in it. And there was so much delight.
You were building.
Yes.
What you were here to build. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a place and like it was mutually beneficial. Like it was this beautiful place of service. But then reading The Artist's Way, there is this concept called the shadow artist. So it's where you are basically, it's like someone, if they really wanted to be an artist, so they marry a musician, but they just keep their practical job. Or like for me, I'm kind of mentoring and counseling all these creatives, but I am not being creative.
Same. 100% same in the past. Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, this is close enough, right?
Yeah. Like it's in the realm of what I'm passionate about, but I'm actually not doing it. And but it wasn't until I went and did an acting class in New York, like all my students were like buzzing. And I'm like, this is an example of like me serving them by me going and doing something for myself, which was kind of wild because they're like, yeah, we love seeing you like pursue this again. Like it was this really like, and they were like, I want to do something like that. That's so fun. And I'm like, this is an example of a payoff of really taking care of yourself, which actually then overflows to other people and is very generous.
Yes, totally. Do you have examples of moments where your vision was clarified or seasons where your vision was clarified?
Yeah. I mean, I have, so obviously from Australia, like I definitely, from the age of like 15, I knew I was supposed to live in America, but had the limiting belief that I'll never have enough money to pursue my dreams. Like, and obviously trained to be an actress. And I just always envisioned myself being in New York. And I remember at that time, I visited America in 2013. So it was like a trip that I went on with my brother.
Yeah.
And so I've always had like a deep knowing, like of like, and often we bury that knowing with like duty or responsibilities. And so I was able to like access that deep conviction, like that deep, I know I'm supposed to be there. And I remember Joel Osteen was kind of new with this book called I Declare. And he was big on like writing your declarations. And I was like, I remember I was so in so much conflict in my early 20s, like so insecure, so many like shame and so many things. But I remember like, I'm going to write out a declaration list and all these amazing things are going to happen on my trip in America. And I like wrote these lists and like had this kind of dream of this being this magnetic experience when I got to America. And we got to New York after like 30 hours of travel from Australia. And it just was a bit overwhelming and a lot. And I remember that letdown of like, but I've been declaring that amazing things are going to happen. And, you know, and I just was like, I don't understand. I'm like doing all the like speaking like truth and like saying that, you know, declaring that all these awesome things would happen. But the reality was my subconscious self-worth did not know how to carry the bigger dreams, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, I just had kind of fantasy, and I think that's important to distinguish with vision casting. Of like, what's the fantasy and what's the, you know, what's the authentic at your core, non-ego involved, and maybe a little bit of ego. Who cares?
Sure.
But like,
nothing wrong with it. Some ego.
Yeah, like it's good information.
I mean, but, as far as like, let's unshame that.
Yes.
Right.
And so I think anyway, so I had that whole experience in 2013, but ended up having a significant experience of really knowing, because I visited Reading and I knew I was supposed to move. I had this like strong feeling like I'm supposed to move to Reading, but it all felt really impossible. And so anyway, I ended up coming back to Australia and I did Dr. Caroline Leaf's brain detox.
Oh,
So she's a
great.
neuroscientist.
Yes, love
And I
her.
remember just learning how to renew my mind. And
Yeah.
I hadn't had therapy at that point, but I really wanted to renew my mind about money because
Yeah.
my limiting belief was I can't have what I dream in my heart because I'll never have
Right.
enough money to pursue that. And as I really dug into, and it was only a level, I would say, because there's so many levels to healing, but as I really got intentional about renew the actual practice, and hers is very science driven, her detox. As I like really started to rewire my belief systems, I just attracted money. Like it just started like shifting. And as I kept saying yes to my next brave thing, which is the name of my podcast, like as I kept
Yes.
saying, yes, I'm going to move to America, I'm going to move to America, all this provision and miracles came in. Um, and so, what I know about vision is like we can have the clarity of like, this is what I want, but all our limiting beliefs are often in the way. And there usually is, like you said on my podcast, like it's fun to kind of gamify things. Like
Hmm.
it's when I have a vision for something, oh, I know I'm going to get pushback because, like, as Christians
Yeah.
would say, it's the enemy, but it's also your brain that doesn't
Yeah.
want you to go into the
Right. It's
unfamiliar or the new thing.
unfamiliar.
Yeah. And
Totally.
so, anyway, the whole story is that I ended up making it to America, but I ended up 10 years later to, I think, the day, um, I was actually processing with my coach around like, what am I going to do next after the school? Like, what am I going to pursue? And she just asked me like really good questions about my story. And she was like, well, here's the God story, like, because she could see acting a part of it. And she was like, you should go do a course in New York, like go to a school, go like reawaken that acting thing. And I remember like the vision just kept getting, with all the questions, like really started to getting really, really clear. And I was like, okay, if I go to a school, this is the kind of technique I want to study. And everything, as I kept saying yes, everything kept clarifying. So it wasn't like I had the vision in one coaching session. It was like this just kind of, as I keep peeling back the layers, and I was like, if I'm going to New York for 2 months, like I don't want to room with people. I want my own place. And so then I was like, I have to actually believe I'm worth having my own place in New York.
Yeah.
And New York is really expensive. And I was like, okay, I don't want to spend like something like, it was like $14,000 to have like your own place for 2 months. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to spend all that money on that. Plus, just being in New York is really expensive. And I remember this kind of like a big belief that I had to work through, especially as you serve other people so long, is that my needs don't matter. And so
Yeah.
as soon as I kind of announced like, oh, I'm going to New York to study acting, of course, like everyone wanted to come with me. And I really felt this like, oh, but I don't want to go with anyone. Like I just want
Yeah.
to,
This is just
I
for
don't,
me.
this is just for me. And so
Yeah.
my people pleaser thing, like it was so hard. I had to like put in boundaries with people, which was really, really hard. But as
Yeah.
soon as I put in the boundary, my friend in New York who has a beautiful bougie apartment on the Upper West Side, like studio, was like, I
Oh
heard
my
you're coming
gosh.
to New York for the summer. Can you watch, look after my dog while I'm away? And so I
Oh
ended
my
up
gosh.
getting this dreamy apartment and having the time of my life. Like, actually, Eric Allen's daughter came with me. She was one
Oh.
person, Sydney. I
Yeah,
know you know
Sydney.
Eric. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was crazy because I ended up getting two apartments. And she's the sort of person that's like, Ella, like when I said, I just can't like babysit anyone, she's like, Ella, I'll make my own way, but I'm going to come do the acting course too. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. And because she's very like, takes
Independent. Yeah.
ownership, I felt like that relief of like, oh, I don't have to like babysit her.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy because she ended up house sitting my other friend's beautiful apartment on the Upper West Side for free as well. And so we
Wow.
both had our accommodation. And then it was just like a magical experience that I
Wow.
had to believe I was worth having my own apartment.
Yeah.
And also, like, I had to navigate all the things that would come against the vision that I created. So it was a lot of like reaching and believing, like, no, God really is that good. And He would
Yeah.
want to love me and give me that experience. And so I think when I look at those two experiences of like going to New York in 2013 and having my little declaration list, like it was
Yeah.
sweet. And it actually probably like helped me kind of feel
Primed
positive.
your, yeah,
Yeah.
totally
And
primed your
open
nervous
maybe
system.
made me feel
Yeah.
that. But I think having done a lot of emotional healing, like I knew that, oh, like getting this vision crystal clear, I need to work on getting my body, soul, and spirit in alignment to be able to hold the vision, if that makes sense,
Yes.
and
Oh,
actually see it through. But
yes.
anyway, that's just sort of an example of like, yeah, navigating your vision.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that was perfect. So well
Mm,
said. And it makes so much sense. I can relate to it. And what you're describing, it is the process. It's funny because I had Sarah Baldwin on my podcast yesterday,
yeah.
who's like just a brilliant nervous system teacher. She was my trauma therapist. And she was saying, like, we were talking about how it's almost like the further that you get along in your journey and towards your vision, the trickier it is to find when you have protector parts or like
Yeah.
habits. When you're building your vision out of like fear or scarcity, it's like almost harder to detect. And
Mm,
she's like, I have to be on it. I have to like pay attention to myself and my motivations for doing this, because we're not in the season anymore where it's like, what do I want? Who am I? What's
yeah.
happening? We're living it. We know,
Yes.
you know, for a lot of us, like we have done a lot of the work and to the point where we are living in the life that we want and continuing to build. And Sarah said, which you kind of described this too, she's like, honestly, Courtney, it's like there's this formula where you move towards your vision. Something comes up that needs to be healed, that's in the way. You work through it and then you expand. And then
Yeah.
you take a step forward and something comes up and you move through it and you comfort yourself and you heal what's in the way, and then you expand and then you take a step forward. She's like, if we all understood that's the formula, like it wouldn't feel like this despairing thing. We wouldn't make meaning out of roadblocks. We would be like, now me and my best friend is a therapist. And when stuff
Mm,
like this comes up, which the things that were in the way, so to speak, of you moving towards your vision, now at
yeah.
this point, we'll text each other and be like, I'm going to pass this freaking test.
Yes.
It's like, okay, here we go. Like, obviously there's a lot of
Mm,
softness and tenderness towards myself and whatever
yeah.
comes up, but like nothing's in the way. Like whatever's in the way is the way. Like
Mm,
your dreams will always require your healing. And I think
yeah.
like understanding how hard your nervous system works to keep you safe and how the things that come up will always sound reasonable in the moment
Yeah.
is so helpful to know. And what I
Mm,
love about your story is something that I've experienced so many times, and it's almost hard to explain to the people that I'm coaching and working with. But the idea that, like, when you put your boundaries in place, it's almost like, I wouldn't necessarily say God was testing you, but let's just say that there were some like going to the gym of like self-trust and boundaries and
yes.
emotional health.
Mhm.
And it was like, God's like, okay, are we gonna
Yeah.
crumble? Are we gonna repeat a pattern, or do you want to move to the next thing? And you were
Yeah.
like, I am going to hold this boundary. And that's when
Yeah.
like things opened up. I have experienced that over and over and over again, where I like almost weirdly
100%.
get excited when something hard comes up because I know on the other side of that is
Yes.
expansion and movement towards
Yeah.
my vision. Does that make sense?
100%. And I love that you're articulating boundaries, because I feel like another thing that I do with clients, and you probably do this, is like, what season are you in? And let's get vision for the season. Like there's the
Mm,
zoom out vision of like where you want
sure.
to go, but then you want to learn how to like steward the season. And I know for me, like I always pay attention to patterns and triggers that are coming up in that season. So if it's finances, that's where I know, oh, I need to really renew my mind in this area. Like I need to really, like this is the thing that's I'm just getting triggered a lot in. And so even for me in that time, in 2023, I was really learning about my people pleaser tendencies and my lack of boundaries. So it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm constantly having to
Yeah,
like,
you were in a theme.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a theme happening in this season where I am really learning that, because I think we all have core limiting beliefs. So my core limiting belief was like, my needs don't matter. Like the other person matters more than me. And
Yeah.
I just, so my thing that was constantly tested in that time was yeah, like that I would, yeah, like yeah, that I had to like not default to my childhood tendency of like, if you're happy, then I'm happy. If you're okay, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
And so
Right. Yeah.
so it was kind of a messy time, like
Totally.
clunky,
Yeah.
but learning to have compassion in that process too. So it is helpful when you
Yes.
can kind of dictate, oh, I'm getting triggered in this. That means an
Yeah.
upgrade's coming.
Yes.
Like,
It's so
yes.
true. There is actually so much fascinating science about it that I don't feel qualified to articulate in the
Yeah.
most helpful way, but for all the teachers that are out there. But there
Yeah.
really is like so much evidence to this,
Yeah.
that it's not just this like woo-woo thing. I personally would be perfectly fine if it was just a woo-woo thing. But
Yeah.
I because
Yeah.
I've experienced it, I've seen it. But I
Yeah.
also like want to say like we really do have the power as human beings to change our experience and change our reality. You talked about some of the ways that you help people do that, which was helping people come up with the moments when they felt most alive,
Mm.
um, and kind of looking back through their history of all the moments that they were like maybe the most joyful or maybe the most on fire or what you said, the most themselves.
Mm.
And there were some, Lacey Phillips she's like a spiritual teacher out there. She talks about paying attention to who did you pretend to be as a kid?
Mm.
Like what characters were you like? I'm Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Or
Yeah.
like for
That's so
me
good.
it was oh, what books did you read as a kid? A lot of those things that like I wouldn't have identified as being connected to my authentic self until I went back and I'm like, oh my gosh, the clues were there the whole time.
Yes.
Like the Babysitters Club was a really big
Oh,
series
yeah.
here. Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, I could start a business.
Yeah.
I could make money. She was, whatever.
Yeah.
Christy in the
Yeah.
Babysitters Club started a little babysitting business at 12.
Yeah.
And I like, so when I looked back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I always wanted to be a singer. I always wanted to be a performer. I always connected to like girly feminine. I always knew I wanted to be like a powerful boss person. I
Mhm.
always wanted to help people.
Mhm.
And so like kind of going through a childhood inventory in that way is another helpful way. Can you think of
Yeah.
any other ways that you help people
Yeah.
reconnect to their authentic self so that they can craft a vision from that
Yeah.
place?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, all of that is so, so
Isn't it
good
so
because
juicy? Like
there's
so
so
good.
many clues. I mean, sometimes I'm also thinking of my clients. I've asked that question and they said, I've actually spent most of my life being numb and I'm only
Mm,
learning to actually feel what it feels in my body when I feel alive. Like I wouldn't have
for
even
sure.
known that. So
Yeah.
to those who have gone through a lot of trauma and have PTSD, sometimes connecting, you probably don't remember your childhood, and so sometimes it's like just noticing in your day to day, like a moment that felt peaceful, or like you felt a little joy, like little sparks. So it's like, yeah, you're looking for clues. And you said this on my podcast, which is something that, yeah, I do a lot, is I think a big thing has been the inspiration piece of seeing
Yeah.
something in someone else, but
Yeah.
also looking at my jealousy. So
Yeah.
in the artist way, it
Oh,
gets you to
the best.
write down who are you jealous of, and
Yeah.
what information does that give you, and what action do you need to take?
Yeah.
And when you can kind of take it away from the person, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, jealousy is just a good information that I want that. And so sometimes, like, that's really good clues to kind of show you, like, oh, you do want those. You do want to be on a film set, or you do want to be
Mhm.
like, go back to school because you're jealous of that person going to, learn again or whatever. So those are really good clues. But
Yeah.
I feel really, sometimes even like, I know there's a really toxic side of Instagram, but sometimes like there's some people on there that are embodying
Oh,
something
totally.
that you're like, oh, like, and that's why I love your content, because you like really live embodied. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh, I'm drawn to that. Like, I like,
yeah.
what is it about that I'm drawn to?
Right.
Um, and
As a clue.
usually, like, I think I saw this quote that says that clarity comes when you face something often, but also clarity comes
Mm.
when you take action. So even
Mhm.
the season I'm in, I don't have like this full 5-year vision. I
Yeah.
actually just have a vision for my season, and a vision for how I want my day-to-day life to look like. So I go into the vision of like my ideal day, or a day by design,
Yeah.
because I think I also it is also like, being in this season of life, I've taken enough risks now and had a number of dreams come true. Then you realize, oh, actually, a calm nervous system is a great vision to have in this
That
season.
was my first vision for my life, was a
Yes.
regulated nervous system. That
And
was
that's
my
a great
number
one to
one thing.
start.
Yep.
That's a great one to start with.
Yeah.
Because even, you have like, I have clients that I'm like, they're on stages and doing pretty cool things, but they're so unhappy.
They're
And
so
it's because they're
miserable.
so
Absolutely.
dysregulated. So it's like, I want to
Yeah.
hold my life fully. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, like, I just really trust, like, I think sometimes it's that dance of like, I've had to let go of a lot of control, like, especially moving back to Australia. Like, life is different to what I envisioned. So I'm pivoting. So the vision looks like different in this season.
Yeah.
So it's like another, but it's like, I look at my track record of visions becoming actualized. That gives me the confidence to kind of
Gosh, I know.
go into the uncertainty of my future, of like the
Yeah.
mystery of like, yeah, what is for me will actually show up, because it has
Yeah.
before. So
Yes.
that
Right.
kind of gives me faith in my,
Trust muscle.
yes, like
Yes.
trusting,
Strong.
like, even hearing that God is faithful, I didn't really know what that meant, um, really, for a long time. And it wasn't until I'd been through so many situations where I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to work out. Don't know how
Yeah.
this is gonna, and then I'm like, he really shows up. It
Yeah.
works for good. It's going to be
Totally.
okay. So that kind of helps me settle in too. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's funny because my son is trying to choose, he's in fifth grade. And so they have to choose what instrument they're going to play. There's like, they could play the saxophone, the violin, the flute,
Yeah.
or they can play the ukulele and be in choir. So adorable, by the way.
Very cute.
So he has to pick, and they let him try out. Such a great analogy for life. Each week since school has started 4 weeks ago, they've let him try out each one to see which
Yeah.
one he like wants to do. Well, we need to make a decision, and he's like, I don't know which one. He's kind of going back and forth. And I remember being like, well, we need to decide. And if you end up changing your mind later, that's like next year, that's fine. But for this year, like, let's decide so that we can get you the instrument that you need. And I just remember being like, that's exactly how I feel. God works with me. He's like, honey, I'll get you what you need. Let's just decide on what it is that you want to create. Let's just decide on what it is that you want to do. I have provision. I have opportunities I can't even explain to you about. And like, my son is not worried about like, well, how are you going to pay for that? Do I deserve that? Is like, am I going to make the right choice? He's just like, he's not worried about all of that stuff. He's just trying to pick like what sounds the most fun to him, what sounds right.
Yeah.
Like a
So
kid should.
beautiful.
And I feel like that's how God is. I remember having a friend, you talked about declaring. Do you know this podcast is going to be filled with a bunch of people that nobody knows.
Yeah.
But in Reading, there's a woman. She's a colleague of mine. Her name is Rebecca LaRobediere.
Yes.
Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
Yes, amazing.
She's a Christian. To your awesome podcast.
Oh yes. She's fantastic. She's a really sex and relationship coach, like a Christian sex and relationship coach. And I remember one time back when I was super stuck in Reading, she was like casually mentioned, I want to be a famous sex and relationship coach. I want to like speak to crowds of thousands of people, like be kind of like a household name, at least like in, Christian women's circles. And she said it so casually. And I just remember being like, you can just say what you want to do. Like Babe Ruth is like, an American baseball player. And he used to like call his shot before he hit the ball. He'd be like, it's going to go over the fence. Yes. And it was so like thrillingly audacious to me. And so while I feel like there's so much, I think, elasticity that we want to have with our vision, like knowing we don't have to like white knuckle the details, but there are certain things that I feel like it's okay to say, no, I know that I want to do this and I'm going to move towards this until circumstances change or my mind changes. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And I remember I was like, oh, heck yeah. That's what me too.
And this is why I love America, because you can say a statement like that.
Yeah, that is
not be
better
like,
or worse.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that. And because I know who you're talking about, and I feel like I know her, like her essence goes before her. Like you can feel her presence in a room at any point.
Yeah.
And there is no
so inspiring.
Even saying like, I want to be famous to, Christian women or whatever. Because I know her, there's no ego attached to that. It's actually just like,
this is made what I'm
for that.
Do.
Like, and not, it just doesn't feel, because she's so embodied. Like, I don't know, there's something like beautiful about stating and being that audacious, which I love.
Yeah. It brought it out in me. It allowed me to step into that part of my identity. And I remember being like, no, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. And it feeling like, we can do this. And I think it's important because we've mentioned ego a couple times. Just to name, the ego is the part of you that wants to create a vision that it thinks will keep you from pain. And oftentimes it can be really similar to your authentic vision, but the motivation comes from avoiding rejection, usually rejection, and, pain of any past historical wounds that you have. And we all start out with an ego. It's like, I think that's why it frustrates me when it gets shamed or when it gets demonized, because I'm like, no, that's like very normal, healthy development.
Yes.
We just want to mature to lovingly include the ego, the part of us that's trying to create a vision that will keep us safe. And then take that higher perspective of like our true spirit self that's able to like craft our vision based on what lights us up and who we feel called to be. Anything else you would add around that?
Well, I love, and I listened to a podcast with Amanda Cook, and she said that our ego is an unparented part of us. And I just thought that was really sweet.
So
of like
compassionate.
Like, my ego is running the show right now because it's trying to be good or be like, there's so much ego around goodness in the church of like, I've got to
Yeah.
prove that I'm good. I'm a good girl.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we're not even aware of how subtle those moments are.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I love, because I adapt a little bit of parts therapy in my approach to coaching. And so I
Yes.
love to like give that part of you like the table. What do you want? Like,
Yeah.
and tell me more about that. Like, I love like
Yeah.
letting it fully go.
Yeah.
And then it's like you can kind of start to weed out like the pure part of you that is a human and deserves to be seen and that's valuable.
Yeah.
But then like how do we actually learn to like reparent and like get that need met?
Yes.
Because sometimes we just judge it and shut it down when it has so much information to give us.
Oh,
So yeah,
one
but I love it.
absolutely unending. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think it goes back to if anybody's like, is my vision from ego and or is it not? You'll know. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, move towards what lights you up and those parts of you will come up. That is the process, wouldn't you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, and ego is connected also, I think, to the fantasy. So,
Yes,
um,
right. Yeah.
I think when I first started learning about disassociation in trauma therapy, I had to kind of look at my fantasy and look at like what are the core needs I'm trying to get met from this, and how can I
Yes.
actually give that
Right.
to myself? Like see myself
Yeah.
as significant or see myself as special or beautiful, like
Yeah.
rather than like concocting in my mind a scenario where that happens. Like, so I think once you kind of learn a lot around that, like and that's why I think our vision usually in our body feels really regulated. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Right. Not
just it's,
frantic.
yeah, it's not this leaning, proving I have to achieve this by 3 years. It's just that's why I asked the question, when do you feel most like yourself? Like it's just this,
Yeah.
ugh, I feel my
Yes.
relaxed, I feel chill. Yeah, so those, yeah, definitely are some of the things that go along with vision creating. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Totally. I remember as you're saying that, it's making me think about the fantasies that I had for my life and how differently they felt compared to what I dream about now, the vision that I have for my
yeah,
life now. So, like, for a long
totally.
time, I wanted to be a famous singer and performer.
Mhm.
And it was like equal parts like terror and excitement. And I would like lose myself in those fantasies a lot.
Yeah,
And it
so
had to
many
be
of
this
us
one
do.
certain way. Yes, totally.
Mhm.
And I just remember feeling this like anxious, like it has to happen. It has to happen. And then it kind of morphed into like, which people on this podcast, if you've listened, you know this part of my story. I have to become a world renowned worship leader. That's
Yeah,
like, I think it sounded a lot more mature or spiritually evolved
yeah,
from,
yeah.
but it was still absolutely an egoic
Mhm.
fantasy. What I know now is that I both dream about and am pursuing performance and worship leading. And it's
Yeah,
like, so
yeah,
it's like, Courtney, do you want to be married to your husband for the rest of your life? It's an easy
yeah,
yes. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, of course. Like, I love him. And yeah. Or like, Courtney, would you prefer to live in Orange County? Yeah, at this point, yeah, totally. For the rest of my life, I love it here. It's not this like, yes, and if it doesn't happen, I don't know what's going to, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. Blah, blah, blah.
yes.
It's the same as like, do you want to pursue music? Yeah, absolutely. Will I die if I don't? No. Like,
Mm,
I love leading worship. Are there a lot of other ways to express myself in that way? Of course. But like, this
yeah,
is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and this
yeah.
is what I'm going to move towards. It's like a completely different embodied experience.
Yeah, and then you're not at the mercy of the worship pastor picking you on Sunday. You're not at the
Or an
mercy.
audition going
Yeah,
well. Yes,
yeah.
totally.
Because
It's not
then,
fragile.
yeah, like you're flowing then.
Yes.
And then you're available because you're not strangling it when it comes. And
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
I love
It's
that.
it's totally different. I love what you said though about let's give this the fantasizing parts of you
Yeah.
dignity.
Yeah. I
and
think there's so much
respecting
shame
it
around
before.
fantasy, and I'm like,
Absolutely.
everyone does it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like there's so much good. Even like I think about clients that I worked with or friends that like underneath terrified whispers would like scarcely admit that they're like fantasizing about another partner or another person.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like unshaming even that as like, okay,
Yes.
let's get super curious. Like it's okay.
Yes.
Like it's okay in the way that like we are human beings and our brains are working to get us what we need. So
Yeah.
like understanding that takes so much of the shame of that
Yes.
away. And then you can get really like, isn't this fascinating? I wonder
Yeah.
what my brain
Yeah.
thinks it's going to get through
Mm.
this, right?
Yes. 100%. Yes. I love it. And so it's an on I think like I remember learning about needs in probably ministry school, which was so refreshing coming from like
Yeah,
church
it
culture
really
that
was. It
it really
absolutely
like
was.
was
Yeah.
amazing that they taught
Yeah.
emotional health and like getting your needs met in a healthy way and what are your needs. And I remember thinking like, I got this, check, I understand this, but I'm like, no, this is a daily question you're asking
Yes.
yourself.
Right. Yeah.
What need is looking
Every
to be
day.
met here?
Yes. Totally.
Mm. How
Well,
can I give myself what I need?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a daily question and it becomes like I don't know, like brushing your teeth or something. It's not this
Yes.
big I'm broken and I have so much work to do. It's like you wouldn't
Yeah.
think that about your teeth if you had to brush them every day. You're just like,
Yeah.
this is what I do. It's
It's when I need to feel clean. Yeah.
yes, totally. It's
Yeah.
emotional hygiene.
Mm.
So, do you have any encouragement for people that are feeling stuck in their own uh, creation of their own vision or clarity around their own vision?
Mm.
Any encouragement that you would want to give the creatives around moving towards an authentic life?
Yeah. I think forgive yourself, which is a funny
Mm,
thing to say, but I sense that some of you are really good at giving yourselves a good telling off of where you could have practiced more, you should have done this. And some of you just really need a reset because you're replaying stories. Like I mentioned, there's a movie in your mind, and we need to actually take that movie off and find a different movie. But I think sometimes when we have unforgiveness towards our past self, that is what's blocking our vision from coming through. Because I
mm,
really think vision is so spiritual. Like it's like
mhm,
it's your soul, but it's also like, I don't know, because there's so much like when you go on these grand adventures with your visions, there's so many signs and like God
mhm,
coordinating
mhm,
everything together. Like there's so much synchronicity and beauty involved. And I think when we have unforgiveness towards ourselves, or shame ourselves, that is such a block to us receiving mercy from, because God gives us mercy every day, but it's like we we feel like we can't hit the refresh button or the restart button.
yeah,
So I would just look at like parts of your story, and some ways to know if you have unforgiveness towards yourself is if you have flashbacks of embarrassing moments or moments of like
mm,
triggers still coming up from, "Ooh, I did that." And
mhm,
so really give yourself compassion, forgive yourself, and let yourself just hit the reset button and
mhm,
um, start to like listen to this again, maybe, and start to think through like what's highlighted to me to think
mhm,
about and start going after. So that's what I would kind of leave
mhm.
people with.
Beautiful. That made me emotional. I
Oh,
it's so yeah, it's so beautiful and so needed. Grace for every part of us, compassion for every single behavior and thought and past memory that we
yeah.
have.
Because you make sense. There was a reason that happened. So
Yes.
you
Oh,
make sense.
yes.
Like
Yes. Every
time
single part
to
of you.
time to get back up. You don't have to be on
Yeah.
timeout anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hope
Yeah.
that there are people that are listening that really needed to hear that. I can feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, I'm on Instagram, ella.hooper, and I'm also have a podcast, the Next Brave Thing podcast, and I have a website, which is just ellahooper.com. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Great. Well, everybody go and follow her, and she is a coach, and just follow her work and her podcast because she's amazing, and the American Courtney Lancaster, as I am. I mean, the Australian Courtney Lancaster, as I am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. It was so good to see you and talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.